Good evening, America. My name is Paul Ryan, and I am running for Vice President of the United States. As the November election draws closer, I would like to take this opportunity to answer some of the questions that have been asked of me, of the Romney-Ryan platform, and of the Republican Party in general. These are all questions asked by you, the American public. We have not changed or altered them in any way. Okay, first question. Why is it so important that you win this election? Why? Because it's time for a change. Our government is totally corrupt, filled with inept scoundrels who are fleecing the good people of America for their own selfish objectives. They're all oblivious to facts and reality and will say anything, and I mean outright lies, just to get elected. The government is a bunch of social engineering parasites. Except for me, and my friends, and people who do favors for me, and most of the interns. Oh, those interns. Oh my. Next question. Why do Republicans hate the middle class? We don't hate the middle class, do we? No, we don't hate the middle class. I can't speak for everyone else, but for me, I just don't understand them. How can anyone be middle class? The world is black and white. If you think there are shades of gray, it's because you're reading porn. Look, you're either American or you're not. You're either old enough to drink or you're not. You're either white or you're not. You're either rich or you're not. You know what the middle class reminds me of? 2% milk. People who can't make up their mind between non-fat and whole milk. Really? That decision is just too hard for you that you have to compromise? If you're not making enough money to be rich, then you're not following the American dream and you ain't no American. Next question. How are you qualified to serve in the federal government? What do you mean, how am I qualified? I have a lapel pin shaped like a flag. Alright, next question. What do you say to polls indicating that most women vote Democrat? You know, this is exactly why the Founding Fathers did not give women the right to vote. Women do not belong in the voting booth. They belong in the kitchen. Instead of cultivating our political direction, they should be cultivating me up a sandwich. In the early 1900s, patriotic Republicans fought tooth and nail against the 19th Amendment, but were ultimately defeated by an influx of voters from Kenya. Kenya? It's all connected. The Israeli-Palestinian war is still going on, even if news coverage has decreased. How will you help with that situation's resolution? You know what I found out a while ago? We're actually all Jews. That's right. The first half of the Bible, what we call the Old Testament, is the Torah, the Jewish holy book. Judaism was around long before Jesus, and actually Jesus himself was a Jew. The difference is that we moved on, but the Jews didn't. Still, I was very excited to hear about this shared heritage. I ran right out and got one of those ineffective little hats and had part of my dick cut off. Okay, next question. Speaking of religion, you are a Catholic, while Mitt Romney is a moron. Mormon. How can you reconcile that? You know, it's funny, when I was younger, I actually thought about converting. I did. I had several friends who were Mormons, but really it was because I have a first cousin who's really hot. Next question. Recently there has been a big snafu over the Republican stance on rape. You know, let me talk to that for a minute. My good friend Todd Akin came out on camera saying that women have control over whether they get pregnant. The liberals have since been trying to make a huge deal out of it because liberals just don't understand that it's the woman who decides if they have sex, and the woman who decides if a sex leads to a pregnancy. Let me give you an analogy. Suppose you don't know how to swim, but you're at a pool party and at some point you get knocked into the pool. You're in trouble, right? Well, you're not, actually. Drowning is not natural. So what happens is that your body has a natural defense against it. If you decide you really don't want to drown, you suddenly learn how to swim. No one has ever drowned by themselves, unless they wanted to. People only drown against their will when we hold their little moderate heads under the water. And that's still their fault because they made us do it. And it's the same thing with pregnancy. If you don't want to become pregnant, your body can just not become pregnant. When are women going to accept that they do not know their bodies as well as a bunch of old men who have heard stuff? I've also gotten the question about how to explain all this to kids. Of course, you can't just tell them because it involves sex, and that's embarrassing and awkward. Didn't sign up for that as a parent. So what you can tell them instead is that there are separate storks for regular babies versus rape babies. And if they ask what rape is, you just say that's when mommy has buyer's remorse. But don't worry, God still loves you. Maybe. Alright, next question. China has lots of people and weapons, but no oil. Are we going to war with them or not? Those college types think that a war with China would never happen because it would destroy both our economies. That we have ideological differences, but in the end we'll all realize that our mutual well-being is more important than anything else. But you know what I say? I say they're foreigners. No one knows what they're going to do next. In fact, the word foreigner comes from the Latin words for, meaning what, and ner, meaning the fuck are they going to do? We don't know. They're foreigners. They could be building bombs right now. They could be driving their kids to kiddie terrorist schools. They could be practicing Falun Gong. Who knows? But we have to be prepared for anything. Nobody catches America off guard. Not after Pearl Harbor. Not after 9/11. Not after Hurricane Katrina. Not after Janet Jackson's nipple slip during halftime. Not after Enron and Halliburton. Not after Columbine and Aurora. Nobody. Alright, next question. Why are you such a douchebag? I don't think that's fair, because I don't think you understand that douching serves a very useful function. Next question. In the past few years, several states, counties, and/or municipalities have legalized marijuana. Their argument has been that the war on drugs is ineffective, wastes an unconscionable amount of money, and ultimately amounts to a heavy-handed legal solution to a medical problem that isn't even really that much of a problem. What is the party stance? Oh, this is easy. The party stance is that drugs are bad, okay? Why are they bad? They're bad because they're illegal. Maybe the war on drugs isn't effective. Maybe it's expensive. Maybe legalization would not only solve a host of issues, but also bring in tax revenue. But none of that changes the fact that drugs are illegal. I would rather spend $1 trillion fixing a problem than $1 million preventing it. Folks, I don't know if you've seen our budget, but we don't have $1 million to spend. Sometimes I think it's silly that we've made it a criminal offense to grow a particular naturally occurring plant. But think about the patriots who have fought for this country, who have died so that you can live in a country where you have the freedom to be told by your government what kind of plants you can and cannot grow. Well, we're out of time for this week, but I would like to take some time to thank the loyalist supporters of the Republican Party. To the Koch brothers, thank you so much for buying my way onto the ticket. I can honestly say I love Koch. To the Westboro Baptist Church, the only thing more important than our faith is media attention. Keep up your good work. Your reward shall be both in heaven and in Mitt Romney's Swiss bank account. To Rush Limbaugh, no one works harder or waxes more eloquently to bring misinformation and emotionally charged propaganda to the good people of America. Thank you, and I think you'll find a few extra pills in your paycheck this month. Once again, this has been Paul Ryan answering your questions. This November, Mitt and I ask you to join the thousands of deceased voters in Chicago already voting for us. Thank you, and good night.